Hey guys, welcome back to the Daily Crypto Market Update. BTC closed up 4.64% inside of the Daily TBO cloud and printed a second TBT bullish divergence. Hello. Now, we still have a macro bearish trend. The slow line is still very much pointing down. If we look at on-balance volume, it's still macro bearish. Volume finally exceeded the moving average the first time since back over here on the 23rd of February. So it's been about, 8 days? RSI continues to put in bullish structure, higher highs and higher lows. What's more important to check, though, is this bear flag. Now, the original bear flag is most likely not going to hold up. And that means BTC maybe pushing up to $71,300 today, maybe, and respecting resistance, but that seems less likely to me. Now, looking at our parallel channel in terms of this low here on the 24th of February, which was also tested and respected here on the 28th this past weekend, this seems more legit. More importantly, the price has come back to the TBO fast line. The reason why this is important is because this same thing happened back over here multiple times, and never, not once, did it change the trajectory of the trend. The trend was still extremely, extremely bearish. If we go back to 2022, which we have to do this over and over, we saw a really nice rally starting on the 28th of February, up 20%, came right back down, moved up 11, 12%, moved right back down, moved up as high as 27% and moved back down. Now, Ben Cowan thinks that this is what we're doing right here. To be honest, I think we've already done this. This is actually what I think we're doing right now. We're looking at this right here, a big spike up in the cloud, goes down, and we're going to establish or test this level of support. This is essentially what I think that we are looking at right now. We already had our big dump. Now we have a lower low. We have another bear flag set up, and we're going to see the price fall a lot lower. It's going to fall well below the range of this, just like it did back over there. That's the same thing that's happening over here. Now, let's address the other side of this. Let's say, no way, man, you're wrong. It's going to pump higher and harder. Okay, if that's the case, then it has to test and pierce and push above $72,000, which is a tall order. Is volume there? Just yesterday, it exceeded the moving average for the first time in 8 days, 9 days. On-balance volume, though, very clearly bearish. And you're probably thinking, Aaron, wait, this is starting to flatten out. Yeah, you know what? Just like it did back over here in early December, and it flattened out, and we saw lots of Chop City before it dumped again. That's what's going to be happening, inevitably so. And the reason why I keep saying this over and over is because every single previous bear market, we've seen significant drawdown, at least 70% or more. The last one was 77%. So again, I still think that we're going to take a little bit longer for BTC to finally capitulate, possibly even capitulating here in the end of this month of March. Note that back over in 2020, here we go. In 2022, we also had that 1 week of green where there was a really nice a bounce of 9% in May before it finally capitulated. So again, if we're taking the measurements from the top to the next top, or basically the high until a slightly lower high after it first capitulated, then it pushed up, it took 11 or 12 bars for BTC to finally bottom out. So if we go to where we are right now, we are almost there. So we have this week, next week, the week after. So we have about 5 weeks left, possibly until we capitulate. Now, I still fully believe BTC will be going lower. I think that Bitcoin will hold up to the same 52-week, 54-week bear market pattern, just like it's done over here since 2017 December to 2018 December, November 2021 to November 2022, and now October 2025 to October 2026. And just like the previous bear markets, they didn't necessarily just go down instantly. It's a slow, painful drag lower until finally we get this one last drop at the very, very end of that bear market drawdown. Now, on the weekly time frame, there are a couple of things to note. So far, we are off to a very positive start for the week. The price of BTC is up 4% on the week so far. This is the first green candle we've seen. So it's a steady string of 6 red weekly candles. RSI looks like, actually, no, there it is. It's printing an RSI reset, but we still have 6 days left until it's actually confirmed. Now, I still don't think that we've bottomed out at all. I still think that we are doing a little bit of this cha-cha-cha right here before we do the last final dip down to probably down here to $38,555. That seems like a really reasonable target. If we measure from the top to the drop down to 38,555, that's a nice 69% drop. I think that's within the realm of possibility, considering the previous drawdowns that we've seen before. Okay, moving on. Ethereum also benefited from the move yesterday. Now, why did BTC move up higher? Well, for possibly a couple of reasons. I asked Betty to do some digging on this, and she says apparently that there's spot ETF tsunami, $2.5 billion in a single day inflow into spot ETFs with BlackRock's IBIT. Here, I'll just show you. It's going to show you a black screen for a second. Go over here to Discord. There we go. So BlackRock's IBIT crossing 50 billion in assets under management. There's the Fed pivot signal. Powell hinted at a 0.25% rate cut next month. So risk on fever, maybe. Whale accumulation, 20,000 Bitcoin bought in the last 24 hours. Large players are front-running retail capitulation, maybe. Maybe minor capitulation, maybe Binance US relaunching, maybe EU Mika stablecoin clarity, maybe. But honestly, it's just Chop City. It's just manipulation. But it's okay. This kind of stuff happens in every single bear market. Again, if we take this price action and look at it, we had lots of these moments going up, and we chop up, and we chop up, and we chop until finally it gives up. That's the same thing that's going to be happening this time around. So, of course, Ethereum is also trying to keep up to what BTC is doing, and it printed its first TBT bullish divergence, that green triangle right there. Now, should we be excited about this? Well, we've actually seen these before, back over here in the 2nd of December on a nice 7% candle, and Ethereum proceeded to go up another 7% the next day. And it even went up even higher, up to 30,439 on the 10th of December before going all the way back down 19% to support. The macro trend on the daily and on the weekly is still very bearish. Is RSI about to put in an RSI reset? You know what? It could. Does that change anything for me? Nope. We've seen lots of these little divots and bumps on the way down lower and lower. More notably, stablecoin dominance printed a second TBT bearish divergence, which is this yellow tab right here. It's really interesting to note that the price did print, or rather close, inside of the cloud. But has that changed the direction of the cloud? Nope. The cloud is still very macro strong, bullish. The same thing happened back over here. Just so you know, lots of these moments of chop where the price, quote unquote, it's a percentage, but going inside of the cloud, going up and down, going up and down. I said that this could be happening, especially because we're seeing RSI putting in lower highs and lower lows. So now we have another lower low right there. So nothing really out of the ordinary. Do we have our final blow off top signal? No, I don't think so. And again, the same thing happened back over here. We had 1 week in May, May 30th, before we saw a big explosive blow off top, which will coincide with the market bottoming out. Now, Bitcoin dominance, this one saw the biggest surge in terms of dominance. It pumped 0.92% in a single candle, almost commensurate with what we saw on the 6th of February at 1.38% in a single day. That's a big bounce back. More importantly, it printed a TBT bullish divergence, and it also printed a TBO close short. The TBO standing for the trending breakout indicator, by the way. So usually when we see these orange diamonds, this is telling us to expect a bullish explosive move to the upside. So we'll see if that actually continues, but the main thing that's impressive is that Bitcoin dominance is now inside of the cloud again. So it's in bullish consolidation mode. That's a surprise move for sure. Others dominance. That was weird. There we go. We saw it print a TBT bearish divergence cluster, and yesterday it dropped 1.82%. Now, you might be scratching your head here because if you looked at the charts at the end of the day, many charts were looking really, really, really good. How is it possible that others' dominance has dropped so far? You guys forget how important Bitcoin dominance is. Others' dominance won't be able to keep up. And again, others' dominance was already macro bearish. This move was going against the trend. Now it's going to catch up to the trend. Totally yes, .D, the total market cap, excluding stablecoins represented or expressed in a dominance percentage, printed a TBT bullish divergence cluster. Again, a very bullish signal, just like what we saw back over here on the 8th of December before it pushed up a little bit and it rolled over lower. It does not mean that this is the big, amazing indicator that's going to push us up to new all-time highs, because the macro trend is still very, very bearish. If you go to the weekly time frame, yes, we might get an RSI reset. No, I don't think that we're done yet. Totally 50.D is looking very weak. It also has TBO breakdowns on the 4-hour. Totally 100 TBO breakdowns are still valid on the 4-hour, and it's below the cloud. So no, I don't take this as a bullish sign for anything. Totally 100's daily chart, TBT bullish divergence cluster, a second one. Does this change anything? No, the macro trend is still bearish. So what we're seeing right now is just manipulation. I don't really think this is the start of a new epic uptrend, but the fact that we're at the cloud, this gives us an opportunity to short all the way back down here to support, just like last time. The only thing that will really change my mind to get my interest peaked is seeing a TBO close short. And the last one that we've seen was way back over here on the 12th of April, 2025, which preceded a big rally. I don't see those printing yet. Now, TradFi. The Dixie, lo and behold, had a very explosive 0.92% close above the cloud. Gasp! Who could have ever seen that coming? Well, the TBO told us 1, 2, 3, and then yesterday confirmed 4 times that there is a very strong chance of an explosive bullish reversal to the upside. And now the Dixie is most likely heading up to 100.261. The PMI numbers came in, and miraculously enough, it dropped just a little bit to 52.4. So things are more likely leaning bullish, and it's too bad because we have this whole war conflict thing happening right now. Now, because the dollar pumped, everything else dumped. The euro USD fell 1.09% yesterday and printed a second TBO close long. That's a bearish sign for anyone that was wondering. On the weekly time frame, things have already been looking bearish for quite some time. Looking at the S&P futures, we saw yesterday close up green. It's not -1. It's actually closed up 1%. But the problem is that it's still inside of the cloud. Anytime the price of anything is stuck inside of the cloud, it's in bearish consolidation mode. So if it's in bearish consolidation mode, that means that we should basically be expecting way more chop. Now, if we go on to the Dow Jones, we can see that it printed a second TBO close long. Yikes. This is not good. So having one of these confirmed on Friday and then seeing Monday staying in bearish consolidation is not positive. Yes, we'll see this eventually tag the fast line, but it's not a very good, strong bullish signal. The VIX opened at 24.66 yesterday, perfectly smacking into our rejection zone. That's a big deal, especially after this big fake out after the TBT bearish divergence, and it just popped up like that. That is nuts. Now, not necessarily unexpected, because we've seen this happen with other times where things started to get a little bit iffy, a little bit scary in terms of the S&P. Now, we have seen some bullish bounce backs over here, like NVIDIA. It closed up basically 3%, but it's still below the cloud. It's technically strong bearish. Talking about whipsaw activity, we saw weekly RSI close below support last week, which isn't, I'm not going to say anything. It's bearish. It is what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. GameStop closed up green at 0.71%. I am amazed that it's holding up above this super long-term overhead resistance fan level. The next target, if things get crazy for this chart, which would be very weird, would be up here like 35.81. Tesla continues to struggle with overhead resistance, and it's still strong bearish. If we were to remove the brush, price labels, and the trend lines, this is bad. This is macro bearish. It's bad. It's very bearish. There's a good chance that Tesla will continue, let me bring those back, to fall lower. The next level to watch is down here at this support level, which is around $325 or so. UK oil. pumped up to our target range that I talked about before last week. And now the price has gone up here to pierce TBO resistance at 80.34. And it opened, it opened today at $79. Why isn't it going down? Well, things are very strong bullish on the weekly. Things are strong bullish on the daily. Things are looking very, very shaky right now for the Middle East. Does that mean it's going to stay up here? No. The last time we saw oil do this was back in June 2025, where it spiked and peaked, and it went basically from down here at 66.48 all the way up to 80.34, 20% higher, and then finally, everything's fine, and it dumps 13% in a day. We've also seen something similar back over here, December 2024 until January, and then it falls lower. We've seen big spikes do something similar like this in the past. It's not really that concerning. The only thing that should make you concerned is the fact that we have a massive gap that will get filled eventually, but not anytime soon. Now, gold opened, and even though it closed red, it opened much higher and it closed its own gap. So kind of it to close the door on its way out. It's above the 786. It's really close to tagging the TBO fast line to finally complete this silly TBO springboard bounce for 12%. And again, the target of $6,500 is still on the table. Silver opened up way higher yesterday. It opened above the 618, even though it closed down 4.74%, but wick to wick about 10%. It's technically still strong bullish, believe it or not, because all four clouds, or rather the price is above the TBO cloud, this green mass right here, and all four lines are independently pointing up. Now, in terms of other indicators, yeah, it took a hit yesterday with that selling and the panic and the fear, but again, silver is going to follow gold. Now, one mover that was very surprising was uranium. Now, it makes sense because if oil is going to be short supply, uranium could be the next best bet. So uranium actually pushed up 5.41%. There is resistance at 7974. Just be on the lookout for that. Now, I have way more charts I'm going to share with you in this video, but before I get to that, go to thebettertraders.com, check out the pinned comments down below, check out our courses, check out the TBO indicator. It's the best trading view indicator I use for all of my analysis that shows me the strength of the trend, breakouts, breakdowns, close shorts, close longs, all that fun stuff, support and resistance. There's also the Better Traders Journal. We have now print-on-demand copies of our Better Traders Journal that's available through the Amazon store. You can order your copy, and if you enjoy using it, consider leaving us a review. And if you're still looking for an exchange partner, check out Tubit. They are a non-KYC requiring crypto exchange that's available in most jurisdictions. Not every single jurisdiction, but they are. And they are compatible with the AllTrading platform, but you do have to fill out a KYC application in order to get access to your API keys. So we're going to get over here to my picks for the day. And as always, if you have coins that you're really curious or you want my opinion on, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Make sure that you leave the $sign as a call sign or whatever, or like a ticker, so that way I know. And if you're asking for stocks, please just write stock or stocks, something like that. So that way I know, because I'm predominantly a crypto guy. Cool. So the first one up is NEAR, which had a very surprising 18% pump yesterday. More notably, that's a big spike for on-balance volume, which we're looking at the moving average flatten out and actually curl up, which is very bullish, to be honest. Volume was also massive. Yesterday is about 3 times the average of volume, maybe 3.5 times. RSI is now overbought at 78.01. It's exceeding the previous high from 13th of January at the 73.62. If it can meet or exceed the 6th of January's high at 81.43, that'd be amazing. Now, one thing to note, it is right here at historical TBO resistance/support. It's a resistance because the price is below it now, but this level of 1.432 is significant. Now, the other thing to note is that we've seen similar price action for NEAR in the past. Back over here in late December, we saw it shoot up about 30%. Right now, we're seeing it shoot up a lot higher than that, 45%. There's probably AI-related news to NEAR. And again, I think these AI tokens are really good ones to consider. Yes, NEAR is bouncing off of its weekly TBO support line. The next target to really look out for is the fast line, which is at 1.613 on the weekly. I'm sorry. And the reason why it's blue is on the 4 hour, there's a TBO breakout cluster. Admittedly, printing quite late, so it might be An exhaustion breakout. We'll see. Sky actually pushed above overhead resistance and pushed up 6% and printed a TBO breakout. Also, RSI printed a slightly higher level at 65.76. Now, it doesn't exceed the high from February 14th at 65.95, if I'm not wrong. No, it doesn't. But it's impressive. It is impressive, and things are starting to cook and to heat up. It's interesting. Keep an eye on it. Virtual has now printed a third TBO close short, this orange diamond, which is why these are two orange flags. These are bullish reversal signals, just like we saw for the Dixie. Jupiter swap also printed one after a 6% move. It's interesting. It is interesting, but again, I can't help but look at all this going, things are still macro bearish. Now, these green flags are showing off some bullish signals that have fired. So we have one here for Solana, a TBT bullish divergence yesterday on a 3% move. It hasn't closed technically closed inside of the cloud, just a little bit, but not like to a massive degree. And volume is still, it's not bad. It's not great. On balance, volume looks a lot better on Solana compared to Ethereum and Bitcoin, though. I will give it that. If it pushes up higher, the main levels that we'll want to watch for this, actually, I'm going to use the weekly for this because it'll be a lot faster. It's actually approaching it pretty quickly, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's going to be a while. That's okay. Wow. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. It's another 30% move. That would be wild if Solana actually did that. I don't think it will. But anyway, it's still in the cloud. It's still trying, but it also is still very clearly in a bear flag, at least to me. Mantle, this one closed inside of the daily TBO cloud yesterday at 3.47%, and it's still inside. On the 4-hour time frame, it's above the cloud. Admittedly quite weak because it's just a 4-hour, but it is impressive to finally see it rebounding and bouncing back after being extremely oversold from our December 15th high down to our February 2nd or 6th low, down 61%. So if it does do any sort of a rally, the fast line on the weekly time frame is a great target at 92 cents. The graph, this one is also showing some bullish potential energy with all of these TBT bullish divergence clusters. But again, the macro trend is extremely clear that the chart is very strong bearish. So you have to be aware of that. Cornflakes has printed a third TBT bullish divergence yesterday. The macro trend, though, remains bearish. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Hype pushed up higher yesterday, closing just above the daily TBO cloud. RSI also went overbought at 70.17. That's great. That's amazing. On balance, volume is looking bullish, it's picking up. Volume is starting to build again, but the moving average is definitely starting to hunch over. If it happens to push up here to TBO resistance at 35.537, that would be a really great spot to consider taking some profits out or to flip your position to a short. Cardano, this one on the 4-hour time frame has been seeing a lot of choppy signals with 3 TBO closed longs printed over the last 3 days. Now, the 4-hour is very, very fast in terms of its time frame. I still think that Cardano, though, is looking quite weak, that we could see it drop back down here to support at 0.2559. Stable, this one on the 4-hour is also printed a second TBO close long after having this big explosive move at the end of February, up 35% or so. Topping out there and then getting rejected after basically on the 28th of February. It's still strong bullish. The only thing to watch out for is momentum, which is clearly not there. Morpho, this one actually had a bigger spike up yesterday, 10.69%. If we look at it, yep, the price actually put in a higher high, which is wild. Now, there's a good chance after that big spike that we're going to see a pullback. Why? Well, because RSI only clocked in at 75.14 despite putting in a higher high. It's a really good setup for a short, especially because it's all the way up here. I'm not saying it's going to go all the way back down, but that's pretty wild. Chili's is now above its first overhead resistance fan line. So it closed above it yesterday, 3.85%. It's still strong bearish, but RSI is starting to move up. On balance, volume is bearish, but RSI is showing that there is bullish momentum building for this. There are no other signs on the 4-hour time frame. River After exceeding the fast line on Sunday, it still closed green yesterday, and it actually went just overbought at 70.23 yesterday. It could still push up. On balance volume is technically bullish, very bullish, because all those green candles. I'm just looking at this, waiting for a TBO close long or TBT bearish divergence. So now for your picks, Sahara takes the cake first with the most crazy chart price action. This is insane. From this pump back over here on Friday last week up to today, it's up currently 88% in 5 bars. That's messed up. That's wild. So there has to be some good news behind it. I don't know what it is. There are TBO breakouts. The chart is very, very strong bullish. If RSI can meet or exceed the high from February 27th, last Friday, at 84.02, then there's a good chance of continuation. The next target will be the top of the cloud at 0.04436. Grass has also had an incredible rally from last Tuesday, a week ago, to today, up 75%, but in total, 104%. That's nuts. Now, there are some breakouts that are printing, but they are printing on the big explosive move, which is usually not a good look, but it's clearly bullish. On balance volume is bullish. Volume is crazy. RSI is very much overbought. Note the lower high in terms of RSI yesterday compared to Saturday, but we have a very much higher high in terms of price. Be careful about that. B, this one is above the daily TBO cloud, so it's in strong bullish mode. On balance volume is bullish. RSI is very bullish. It's very overbought as well in the short term. And if it has a pivot high here, RSI is going to be dropping from about 27 cents down to 19 cents, which is significant, marking a very clear pivot high. And it'll most likely be falling down to the TBO fast line at around 0.16, about 16 cents. Ether, notice how volume has fallen down considerably. It was on Friday at 1.6 billion, where the 30-day moving average was at 348. And then yesterday at 303,000, where now the 30-day moving average has moved up to 408. Volume has dropped off a lot, as well as price action. I don't necessarily think that Ether is going to pump up a lot more. On the 4-hour time frame, it's just choppy right now. But volume is draining and falling. But on balance, volume still looks good. It is in bullish consolidation, but I struggle to say, oh yeah, this one's bullish. Chain GPT, very crazy low cap coin on KuCoin. See if I can find this somewhere else with more volume. That's still low volume over here on Binance as well. 30-day moving average volume is $452,000. It's pretty bearish. On the weekly, it's pretty bearish, but I want to get more price action because I know it's been listed longer over here on KuCoin. So positive things is that if we get some sort of a rally, it's at the perfect place to bounce. So if you're really bullish on Chain GPT, you could be entering along here with a very tight stop loss at 11% and just keep your position open. I don't think it's going to go 1,000% at all from here, but it is at an interesting price point. Pengu, this one continues to stay strong bearish, even though we have bullish reversal symbols like the TBT bullish divergence. It's not cutting it. It's not enough. Now, if volume can increase and the candles remain green, we have a good setup here for on-balance volume to turn bullish, which means Pengu could actually push up to historical TBO resistance at 0.00836 for like a 20% move from the current price. If XMR Monero remains inside of the bearish, or rather the bear flag or the bearishly ascending parallel channel. So yesterday's move, 2%, cool, but we're not seeing any bullish stuff other than RSI putting in higher highs and higher lows. Okay, on the daily, yay. But on the weekly, it's looking pretty bearish, and on the daily, it's still very bearish. Doge, same story, very bearish. Now we're into some stocks. DFAN, which is the Direction Daily Aerospace and Defense Bull. So charts like these that are a 3x, it's basically, these are charts that you want to be careful not to hold long term, just so you know. These are like all of the crypto 3L, 3S, which we don't have any more of these bull or bear leveraged tokens anymore. BTC 3L. Yeah, we don't even have them anymore. Yeah, we have them here on Gate. as futures, but that's it. The reason why I say this is because these get devalued over time a lot. So yes, it makes sense that the aerospace and defense bull is up a lot because of what's happening in the Middle East. So yes, very bullish, unfortunately. SSRM, SSR mining. Well, it's technically strong bullish on the weekly, on the daily. It's looking good. It's above overhead resistance on the TBO. It's approaching historical resistance from way back over here in 2013 at 33.64. Then there's resistance up here at 42.36. That's promising. The main things to be aware of is just to keep an eye on RSI. Weekly RSI is admittedly strong bullish. It is putting in a lower high last week on the 23rd at 77.17 compared to the high on the 13th of October at 77.63 compared to the mega high on the 22nd of September at 92.76. So when we see massive highs on RSI, but we see consecutively lower highs after that, but higher highs in terms of price, that's bearish. But on balance volume, massively bullish. TBO, massively bullish. Volume, massively bullish. EXLS, lots of gaps in this chart, and I do say it all the time, and it's worth repeating that the TBO really doesn't work well with charts that have lots of gaps in terms of price action. It's not going to work too well because all the gaps are just going to mess with all the signals. Now, I don't know what happened to the chart, but clearly there was some bad news that happened over about 3 weeks because it fell from $42 down to $28 over here in late January to February. Now, seemingly enough, it bottomed out last week at 26.94. Now, if it can close green and get weekly RSI to close above 25, that's a good entry for a bounce where it could go up to the fast line, which will most likely intersect with historical TBO resistance at 36.77. GNRC, strong bullish on the weekly after a really big week 4 weeks ago on the week of the 9th, up 22%. That's nuts. On balance volume is technically bullish, although it's squiggling a lot. On the daily time frame, 3 TBO breakouts are very late. That might be an exhaustion breakout, to be completely honest with you. But it's strong bullish above the cloud. On balance volume is very bullish. And that's that. Now, on Sunday, I shared a video about the Better Crypto Calendar, which is a very, very pretty looking version of the Crypto Historical Monthly Performance Sheet. Blech. But I need you to watch this sheet to give you some ideas of how you should be using your OpenClaw bot to analyze and to build out crypto data to help you understand how the crypto market's moving, working, jiving, pumping, dumping, all that fun stuff. Watch this video, and until the next time, you know what to do. Stay awesome and stay in the green. Peace.